Hello everyone, my name's Nicole Miyuki and this is Let's Make Art, and we do a new project every week. And guess what? We're doing a new tool that I'm really excited to show you guys about. If you're watching this and you're like, Nicole, you've been doing this already and you're not watching this in order, it's totally okay. But we have a new box that we're introducing, the summer box. And is it okay if I show them? Yeah. Can they see that?
Because it's released soon.
Yeah, it's released.
Yeah.
So if you don't have it, you can get this. We're learning lettering with a brush. There's two different brushes. So this project, we're gonna be focusing on the aquash brush. No, it's a funky word, but aquash. I hope I'm saying it right now that I'm telling people how to say. Okay, anyways, aquash. So what we were going to be doing in this project is we're going to be lettering with watercolors. So if you're looking at this, there are 4 different steps that we're going to be doing. So the first one is we're going to get to know this new brush pen that I'm going to keep saying that because it's not a brush pen. This new brush we're going to be using. And so you will notice that it's similar to other types of lettering tools where it has a tapered tip, where it's pointed at the top and it's a little bit wider at the bottom. So step 1 is getting to know this guy. Step 2 of this project is in your box, or if you don't have our box, we have a subscription box I'm saying too many different things at once. We have this as a download. So you can get this on our website at letsmakeart.com, find the Love More kit, and you can download this outline. So this is the practice worksheet. So this is step 2 that we're going to go over. I realized, do I need to make room for you? Where you're gonna put the steps?
No, we're good.
Okay, we're good. Okay. Yeah. This is step 2. Step 3 is we're going to lay out the project. So it's a circle, and then we're gonna figure out the layout of it. So we're gonna do that together. That's step 3. Step 4 is I'm gonna show you, if you look at this, there are 2 different blending techniques that I'm gonna show you. So this one is more of a gradual ombre from top to bottom. And then this one, you'll notice it goes left to right. And there's 2 different techniques because this brush you can use in multiple different ways. So those are the 4 different steps that we're gonna be going through. The supplies that I'm using are, this paper is watercolor paper. It's our Canson XL paper that Sarah uses at Let's Make Art. So that's the type of paper that we're gonna be using. And then this project, we're gonna be using watercolors. So if you've been with us through the past projects, you've probably noticed that we've been doing brush pens. So those have the ink already in them. For this time, we're going to have to add our own ink. And it's okay. I know you can do it. It's just one little extra step, but there's a whole new possibility of things I'm so excited to show you guys about. So first I'll just show you the different supplies and so you know what to have. So we have different paints. Or I guess I should say the colors.
Yeah, say the colors.
I should paint with the colors.
That'd be awesome.
To help you out. Okay. So there are 4 different colors in this project. So this is a palette. So Sarah, our watercolor teacher, likes to use a bigger pan. Neither is right or wrong. It's all personal preference. I like to have the little wells for me for lettering since it's a little bit smaller. So you don't need a lot. So I wanted to show you this on camera so you can see. I'm only squeezed just a little bit. It's like a pea size, right?
Delicious.
Was that what you would say? So I'm gonna squeeze these first. So just a little bit. And the thing is that if you always need to squeeze more, you can squeeze more. So I'm going to do it every other, just to leave a little bit of room. So the other thing is if you have our box, or if you have this kit, so this is also available as a kit. I included yellow. I actually won't be personally using it, but I figured might as well throw it in just in case you wanna make green, because my leaves are purple and pink and all different colors. But to make green is you mix blue and yellow. So that's just a fun bonus if you guys want to use that.
That's nice. Give them a little extra creativity, freedom.
because you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. I want to preface that as well. You can make this however you want. I just want to show you the different steps I'm using. So I am using the rougher side. So there's two different sides to this paper. This just has a little bit more texture to it. If you accidentally do it on this side, it's okay. It still works. I was practicing with it to make sure when I say that's true. And it's true. It still works. So the 3 different colors, that soaked that up really fast this morning. Okay, well, yeah, wow. I need a lot more then. Ignore me on the pea size. I guess for this color, need a little bit more. Oh, let me get it in water first. That was probably part of it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was it.
So that is the first color. That is deep blue. So these are the dandelion watercolors, dandelion and paint. Oh, pretty color. That's Tahoe blue.
Pretty.
And magenta. So those are the 3 colors we're going to be going through. So to get started, step 1. When you are using this brush, actually, if you don't have this and you want to use, so we also have this brush I really love. It's a lot smaller. This is the size 0, but if you have any round, you can do this project with us. So don't feel like you have to have the specific one. What I want to do first is, as we get to know this brush pen, I want you to practice your leaves. So we're going to double whammy and get some practice in. So I don't use a lot of water, so don't feel like if you're confused on the ratio. I want you to first feel the freedom to just go for it and experiment, because this watercolors is like riding a bike. You can learn all you want and you can practice and you can watch, but you won't actually be able to do it until you physically do it. So here's your permission slip to do it.
Nice.
You
I
got
like
it.
that. You can watch all you want. You got to try it. You got to
Yeah.
don't be afraid.
Yeah, because I know it's intimidating because you don't want to do it wrong, but you're going to do it wrong. It's okay. We got you. Okay, so I just have my my brush is not super loaded. I just tap it off a little bit and then rub it in. And so what I want you to do first is, with lettering, the style that we're doing, it's called modern lettering, and what's happening is it has thin and thick lines. So we actually we're gonna film and we'll have a new video, but you'll notice that these are the foundation strokes. So you can go through and practice that if you wanna pause and go through and practice those first. But what I just want you to do is, you'll notice that there's thin and there's thick lines. So whatever stroke you wanna do, I just want you to think about, and I'm gonna do it with my leaves. So there's a lot more going on now.
Yeah, there is.
Let me put that there. Okay. So I'm picking up some of my Tahoe blue. So what's happening is I'm going to go thin, and I'm going to use the tip of this brush, and then I'm going to go down and push on the belly. So you will notice that I have both a thin and a thick line, and all I did was I thought about pressure. So the terms I'm using are the tip of the brush and then the belly, which is the wider, bigger part of it. So again, what's happening is my hand is grounded, and I'm going thin on the up, and then I'm going thick on the down. So you can make your strokes as thick as you want. So why I want you to practice this is, 1, you're getting used to just making the leaf shape. But you will notice, even if I'm pressing medium, and then if I press medium again, you can get the same stroke. So I want you to train yourself is maybe you practice just going thin up and see how thin you can go, because what's happening is that if you look at this brush, dang it, this brush is...
It's shaped like a pen, so it's okay. It's fine.
Okay. Is really flexible. And I know that may be more frustrating to people, and it also may be relieving to more people, because there's a lot of possibilities. So you're gonna get to know this brush very well. So you will notice that I can get really thin, and I can push medium, and then I can push really, really hard to get a really thick stroke. So what you're doing is you are kind of training your brain and your hand to understand that you can think about pressure. So I'm applying light pressure, and then I'm applying heavier. So the first practice drill that I'd like you to do then is, which you'll notice on your practice sheet, I say this is draw light strokes and thick strokes. So that's the first one. And then as you're going through it, let's continue to practice the different leaves. So if you are left-handed, no matter if you're right or left-handed, think about pressure, but what I want to show is you can also experiment with, if you are drawing, see what feels comfortable. If you notice I'm not left-handed, but if I'm trying to be left-handed, I can either come at this angle or maybe I hike up a little bit higher. So I want you to experiment with this because everyone's a little bit different what's more comfortable, but it might be more comfortable. Yeah, I need to practice. So this is, you need to practice applying light pressure, but it's easier for me, it's easier for me to come on top when I'm trying to be left-handed than to come on the side because I tend to get shaky. So kind of rotate a little bit. So it's the same on if you're right-handed, experiment if you like to be at this angle or if you like to come a little bit higher. So you can tell that I can get a thinner thin and you can still push. So when you're pushing, this is good to practice, and as you go through it, when you're doing this, is you can practice going either way if you want, but what's happening is I'm applying thin, and then I'm slowly going to start to push more. So you can really create that shape rather than just creating a flat shape like that. So the other thing that I want you to be mindful of is if you notice really quickly, if you look at this, my brush, I don't know if you can tell, but it got really flat because I obviously pushed really hard. So what you can do is, it's totally okay, and I just spin and you round it back out. So these are really malleable and you can get it back to its shape. So practice some shapes like that, some leaves, and then we're going to keep moving on. So you can pause if you need to practice a little bit more. But I want to move on to the words. So like I said, go through this first section where you're going on thin upstrokes and thick downstrokes. So this is just on computer paper. And if you want to, you can, I don't know if you want to print it out on watercolor paper, but I also want you to know that it's okay no matter what some computer papers might bleed, but this is simply practice. So don't feel like if you only have a few watercolor papers and you're a little bit nervous, you can totally do it on this paper just for practicing. So yeah, it totally works. When you're going through, so this is step 2, when you're going through your practice sheet, when you're looking at this, you'll notice, if you see closely, there's a dot that I drew, and then you'll notice that there's an arrow at the end. So the arrow is showing the direction you're going, so each dot represents a new stroke. So with lettering I want you to be slow. And I know it's frustrating because we want to go really, really fast, but this act of being more mindful will help you to train your brain instead of just drawing really quickly and thinking that I need to do cursive really fast. Because in our myths, in our first beginner lettering series, we went over that one of the myths is that your handwriting or your cursive is the same thing as your lettering. So it's wrong because I want you to go slower. What's happening is, if you want, you can trace over this first. Am I in an okay spot?
You're in a great spot.
Okay, cool. So what's happening is I'm going to start at this dot, and I'm going to go thin on the up, and then thick on the down, so I'm going to apply a little bit more pressure. So then the next dot. So my V, I'm going to take in 2 different strokes because I'm going to go thick, and then I'm going to lift up, and then go thin. And then instead of going right into it, I'm going to lift up because I see a little dot. Rather than if I were to do this really quickly in cursive, it would look like that. So instead, what I want you to do again is I want you to, I'll do the next word, is I want you to break it up. So especially if you look at the M, there's 1, 2, 3. Even though it's one letter, I want you to break it up. If you want to follow, I added these guidelines just to see if this helps you. You don't have to follow it exactly, but if it helps, all of this is called the waistline or the X height, and it's where all of your lowercase letters will hit. So also, when I am doing lettering, I don't dip my entire brush in here. So it might be a little bit different if you're used to painting and you dip the entire thing in. You really just need a little bit on the tip. So if you notice, I'm just dipping the tip in and it sucks it up. So I'm gonna take it in 3 strokes. So 1, 2, 3, instead of like that. So that way I can think about the amount of pressure that I'm applying. As you are experimenting and getting comfortable, I mentioned the angle and the rotation of your brush. That's one thing that you can think about. The other thing that you can experiment with is your positioning on the hand. So I feel more comfortable for me when I grip a little bit closer. I just wouldn't grip so high that you're not supported and grounded on the table, because even if I were to do, I'm exaggerating, but I am shaking and it's harder for me to control. So also, if you find that you have too much water, just dab it off a little bit. You'll notice that that one really bled, but it's okay. Again, this is just my practice. So as you are going through this, I'll go through each word just to, well, we're gonna go through the whole word. I want you to practice going through these ones, and then what you'll notice is on the second half of this sheet, I had you think about angling. So this might be something, if this is your first time and you're not really sure how to do that, I added guidelines to help you. So they're in a really light gray. And so what's happening is if you look specifically at the final one, oh, I got some water drops, is if you look at this, the reason why love more and worry less looks a little bit different is that love more is all straight up and down. So all of my letters look like they're standing up straight. Whereas worry less, there's just ever so slightly angled or italic or slanted or fallen over.
Lazy? I don't think that's lazy.
The angled is actually harder.
Yeah.
Well, some people, if you're used to cursive, are you used? I'm not even used to cursive. It's like my grandma's so good at cursive because that's what you naturally grew up writing, and that was just your handwriting. And I think it's beautiful, whereas younger people can't even do their signature.
I can barely read cursive.
It's
I'm
okay.
not proud of it.
But you've learned that there's only a few letters that are different.
Yeah, I've learned more.
Yeah, you can do a K.
I can read. I can do a K. I did a K last night.
So I'm just helping you, train you just to see if you want to do it. If you don't want to, it's totally okay. Just want to help give you guys all the information. So on these angled ones, what you're practicing with is your downstrokes, especially if you want to just be mindful of that, are going to be following this angle. So my L is going to follow that stroke. Oh, I switched up colors, so now I'm using the blue.
I love that other blue so much.
The deep blue?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite. The first blue, that's what we're talking about.
Oh, this one?
Yes, that blue.
Oh yeah, that's Tahoe blue. This one's a little bit more navy. So if you notice, I stopped and I did that in one stroke, and then I went and picked up the first half of my V. So my downstrokes are following these lines. As you are also experimenting, it might help. So I'm right-handed, and I tend to, if I'm looking at my paper straight, I sometimes like to angle my paper, and it helps me draw a little bit more. If you're left-handed, see if rotating your paper to the right helps a little bit. I'm gonna go for it. So my downstrokes are going to follow this line. So I'm gonna take it slow. So thin on the up. Actually, I'm gonna write worry because you guys haven't seen me write worry. So worry, I'm gonna take it in 2 different strokes, the W. So the other thing that I noticed, and if this is you, if your hand starts to cramp and tense up, just lift up, relieve yourself of some pressure, and then just go again. Lift up. Yeah. So I need to work on my shakiness. And I know that's a very common question that I get asked, is how to focus on, or how to get rid of your shakiness. It will come by just flying brush. Is getting more comfortable with the motion. So if there is a specific stroke that you find to be really shaky, especially it tends to happen on your upstrokes, is what I want you to do is do that stroke multiple times. So your hand starts to get accustomed to it. So if I need to do my R several times, that might be what I need to do. But if you break it apart for yourself, that will help you not focus so much on your words and the end result, and you're just gaining momentum by creating this muscle memory. So it's okay if you're shaky. It's not wrong. It's not bad. Okay, so go through this worksheet, and then step 3 is laying your project out. So this is also another download that you can get, or it's in the box/kit. So this is just a simple circle. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to give you guys guidelines if it helped to figure out your layout. So if I'm looking at this, I was thinking about when I was designing this is I wanted to figure out which angle. So my first thought was which angle of lettering do I want to do? And I wanted to show you guys both. So that's why I decided to do love more straight up and down and worry less more angled. So if it helps you, if you want to, I'm just using a simple pencil. If you want to draw out your letters first on here, just to practice and kind of figure out the spacing of it, you definitely can, and I suggest it. So if you're doing angled, if it helps you, draw yourself some guidelines. Just draw them really light. So then you can draw and make sure, again, like your strokes are parallel. If you draw it like that and you realize, oh shoot, I had so much space over here, just erase it. It's okay. This is practice. So this is what we're doing, is we're just trying to figure out your layout. So maybe we need to make that L a little bit bigger. So this is your time to, what I want you to do, draw it once. Look at it and figure out, okay, is there anything I can tweak a little bit more? So if you want, also, if you want to do your own quote, I would love to see what you do. And you also can draw this at an angle if you want. There's so many opportunities, and this is just one way to do it. So if you want, you can take this time to practice, because I know as we've been doing these projects, to do it on this final one is a little bit intimidating. One, know that this is just paper, and if you need to get more, you can always get more. 2 is if you want to warm up, you can use this as your warm up and go through just like we were doing, and maybe you trace over these letters, and so you practice again with the thin on the up, thick on the down. So it might help you to do it once on here just to get accustomed to it and practice. So again, what's happening is when my hand's going up, it's a thin line, and when my hand's going down, it's a thicker line. And I'm creating that through pressure. I'm not rotating this guy. So I am, let's see. I want you to be able to do this first, and then I'm going to show you, just so we can get this all in one shot, is I'm going to show you how to do 2 different techniques of the ombre, because that's step 4, but I'm going to do it while doing my final project. You can take it and you can watch once, and then you could do it on your own, however you want to do that. I just wanted to warn you, so you don't, if you don't want to follow me exactly. So for my final project, you have 2 different options. Typically with especially the brush pen projects, I was showing you guys that I like to do this all once and then I usually go over it with a darker pen, and I like to use a light box. So if you want to do that similar thing and create your own template, and then you place this, I'll just show really quickly. So if you want it as an option, I'm not gonna do that this time just to show other options, but what you can do is you can place this over and then you can simply trace. So if that makes you feel more comfortable, go for it. I want you to have options of how to create this final project. I'm also going to show you, even if you don't have this template, you can use a plate, you can use, this is what we have at the shop. So it's a big roll of tape, anything circular. Actually, you know what, I kind of want to show you guys, even though I'm kind of going off script, is I want to show you a trick, because I saw someone in our lettering group ask this, is how if you want to make an oval shape. So what you can do is just lightly create your circle, and then if you want to make an oval, use this to your advantage and kind of find the middle. And I'm just going to add a little dome to it. So that way, because if you were to just draw an oval or an egg shape, it might be a little bit wonky, but if you use this as your starting guide, you can kind of make it symmetrical so it's even on, or pretty even on both sides. So if you want to erase, you can erase your original circle line, and that will be able to help you. So then you're creating the top of your oval. Then, if you want, you can do the same thing. Actually, yeah, because you probably don't want an egg shape, unless you do. Maybe it's just for Easter, which...
It could be for Easter.
That's cool. That's funny. It was like a perfect egg. So you want to do a similar thing. Actually, I got super ahead of myself and I got really excited. I probably shouldn't erase, well, I can still see it. I was gonna say, I would erase your circle first, and the reason why is if you wanna make your oval symmetrical, is I need to make this line go about the same, like there. So I'm starting here, I'm just adding a little bit more. So now, it's okay that this is a little bit bigger at the bottom. It doesn't bother me. Now I'm going to erase my circle line. So again, I'm completely going off and showing you guys just a different way to make this final project if you want to do an oval, because I know that was a question someone asked. So want to give you guys what you asked for. So we're gonna do an oval for this instead of a circle. No, if you want to do a circle, go for it.
Improv. This is exciting.
I'm not really good at improv, but making it happen.
Seems like you did an oval instead of a circle, so you're killing it.
Okay. Now, this is actually really good that I'm talking through this, because I know some people have asked, how do you figure out layout? Since we have a quote that is 4 words, if your quote is different, you might need to figure it out differently, but because this one is 4 words, what you can do and might help is, if you look at this, because there's 2 and 2, is you can also draw yourself a line in the center if that helps. Let's see. I tend to not, because pencil lines, they don't bother me so much, but at the same time, if you can do it without having pencil lines, I want to be able to show you. And that would be actually tracing it and do a light box. So on this one, I'm gonna be okay with a little bit of pencil line showing, because what's happening is, you notice watercolors are a little bit transparent. It's totally okay. And if you want, so I'm just gonna draw myself some guidelines. I'm not actually going to draw the full word. So what happened was that because I'm not using my exact circle, I have a little bit more space. So I added, if I think about my L, so if my word has a taller letter, so I need to make sure that it's not too high and it's not too low, that there's so much space up here. If you do that actually, and I'll show you at the end how you can make up for negative space through your wreath. So don't be tripped up if that happens, because it's okay. There's ways to figure it out. So we are going to just go for it. I'm trying to think how I want to show you guys. The first ombre technique, so this is the fourth step, the final step. There's two different ombre techniques that I want to show you. The first one is this one, where I started with deep blue and I gradually started to pick up a different color. So if you want to create, because you'll notice we don't have purple in our set, but you can create purple by, if you look at my palette, so this is my deep blue, this is Tahoe blue, and this is magenta. What you can do is if you want to create, you can either pick up from here and make your own purple, or if you want to literally add a few drops of it, maybe. So this is magenta. And then you can mix. So purple and red, sorry, blue and red make purple. So that's how you can do that. So you can either mix it straight up, and maybe if you want to create a different tint of purple with the deep blue and a little bit of magenta. Experiment on your practice paper what colors you created. This is why I love watercolors, because you can create so fun. So that's magenta and Tahoe blue. So that is deep blue and magenta. So those are two different shades. I'm actually surprised. I would think that this is a darker tint. Well, it's cool. You never know what you're gonna get. But the point is that I don't want you to specifically feel like you have to get a certain shade. We're just gonna kind of gradually move. So one option is you can create yourself different colors on the palette. Another option is, I'm gonna start with deep blue. So I'm just gonna put a little bit and use the center part. So I can see my really faint line right here. So I'm gonna go for it. We're just gonna do it. When you're doing this, what you're going to do is, if I want to transition into purple, maybe I do pick up a little bit. Let's see. This is the darker one. So I'm going to pick up this color, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlap. So instead of starting right away, I overlap it so that it blends into the next color. And if you want, just dip a little bit of water. So I like to have a little, this is just paper towel to dip a little bit off. But what you can do is, if you can see this transition point, just blend it back out so you can't see. So next color, let me try this purple. So again, instead of starting right here on the V, I'm just gonna overlap a little bit onto the end of the O. Need a little bit more. Like that, and then let's get my magenta. So maybe this was such a harsh color, so what I'm gonna do, and you can experiment, is I actually just wanna blend this a little bit more. And then it ends with the color like that. So again, if you want to blend this back through, you can experiment with that. So that's actually, I'm gonna show you 3 techniques. I'm just improvising more. That's one technique, was where we had 4, so technically 4 different specific colors that we created before even going to it. So for more, I'm gonna show you how. So I'm gonna start with deep blue. Also, when I pick up the color, I realize this thing I want to tell you is, I'm not just picking up the color. I kind of round and I do that same motion that I did when I was bending my, I don't even remember where it was. I was reshaping my brush, is I roll into it. So actually, let me give myself a little bit more. So I like to dab it a little bit because I don't want my brush to be so sopping with water. Just needs to be a little bit damp. So more. So if I'm looking at this, my M, even though my more has the same amount of letters, if you think about the M, it's kind of like 2 U's put together, or 2, yeah. Never mind.
2 ends put together.
I was like, wait a second. He's looking at me funny.
I was thinking W. W has
I'm
2
thinking of
U's.
W. Oh, okay. I'm looking at things upside down now. 2 ends put together. So that's why that one letter actually takes up more space. Thank you, Keenan.
You're welcome.
So I'm just going to start a little bit more over. And so this technique is just going to be blending 2 colors. And let's see. What I'm thinking through is I started and there was a lot of space, but you know what? What I'm going to do, I'm just going to make this part a little bit bigger. Meh, we're going to keep going with it. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to I'm going to go straight to my magenta. Actually, hold on. Need a little bit more water because it got dry because I started talking. So let me just overlap this, which you totally can. So I'm going to complete that, and then I'm going to go in. And so what I did was I overlapped the end of the M to start my O, and I'm just using magenta. And if you need to go over anything else, just make sure you don't have too much water. If you ever have too much water, you might notice with watercolors, it'll explode and it has kind of a mind on its own. So that's why I like to use a paper towel so you don't have too much water. So low. So
It'll bloom.
It'll bloom. Yes.
Yes.
Well, with painting, like when Sarah does it, it blooms and it's beautiful.
It is.
Sometimes it's
It has
frustrating.
its place.
Yeah. Sometimes with lettering, it's a little frustrating.
Oh, absolutely.
If it doesn't bloom on the right part, like that's a pretty bloom because there's so much water. I love that.
That's my favorite part of that so far.
Yeah.
Yes.
That transition. Okay. Whoa, I was talking too much and, well, all good. What you can do is if it got a little bit wet, just go back over it. Well, here's what I'm thinking. I was talking too much. But I'm glad I'm showing you because my more is not centered. And this is actually a perfect teaching lesson because I'll show you how we can make it up in the final one. Okay, so that's a different technique. So you will notice when you're looking at this, it is very slightly different. So you can figure out which one you want and maybe you can experiment with it. Okay, so the last technique that I wanted to show you is, ready, Keenan?
I'm ready.
This brush opens up. There's 2 parts to it. And so this is an open space for, technically, it's called a water brush, so you can add water in here if you don't have a water cup. I don't really use it as that actually, and you can experiment to see if you like it like that. I don't like to use that. I'm not used to it, and so I think I tend to squeeze too much water. So I like, excuse me, to control it with my own water. But it's awesome because the reason why, so what we're going to be creating, just so you know where we're going, is this. So it goes very ever so gradually. So what's happening, let me do it over this just in case, is I opened up and in the open area, I'm just going to squeeze, let's say, I don't know, 10 drops. You don't need that much. And so it just fills it up a little bit. And so what's going to happen is by putting it back on, now you just want it to have enough. Know that you might get paint all over you. It's all good. It'll wash out. Let it go into the valve. And so if you squeeze it a little bit, maybe I might need a little bit more. Oh, so you can even see really ever so slightly is the magenta starting to come out. You might need to pump it a few times. There we go. So it's starting to come out. So what you can do and what I'm going to do for the rest of my quote Man, need to get over that. I'll just make another one, but I'm gonna keep going. Okay, we're gonna write worry less, and I'm going to write it angled. So with my brush now filled with magenta, I am going to, I'll do the same color. So this is my deep blue. So what's happening is I'm just dipping the tip. So you can see that it created an ombre even within just this brush pen. So it's darker here and a little bit lighter here. So what I'm going to do, let's see. So it creates this really cool look because I just went on the I got way too excited and I wrote less. Love more. Letter.
Less worry.
Should I do?
Yep, you just roll with it.
Wow, my brain today. Okay, guys.
Your improv is great.
I swear I slept last night. Okay. You know what? I'm sorry. The final project is just going to look so different.
That's fine. It's love more, less worry. You just have less worry when you love.
Okay, so, well, let's see if this keeps going. So it's really cool because I heard you make a noise that you liked that. Can you see it?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Oh, I got so excited. Okay, so less. I'm going to keep going. Well, so now because I talk so much, it will, let me just add a little bit of water. We'll see if this, yeah. So I'm just going to blend it back in because if I were to start right at the same spot, it might have a little bit of a harsh line. So I like to just overlap a little bit. And I'm going to, let's do the S's like that. So it's gradually losing the deep blue because I already used it up, and then worry. Okay. So then by the end, so I'm going to take it stroke by stroke. So this whole word essentially is the magenta. So my why, what I'm thinking about is, since I did the quote wrong, oh my goodness. This is more like my practice one. Okay. Is I'm thinking about how I can fill this space. So I know that I'm gonna have a wreath, but it's kind of cool because you can dictate, do you want a really, well, when you're doing the quote, right? You will be able to think about is, it worked out perfectly when I was doing this one. I'm just going to show this one. Is because I had, so less are all three smaller letters. So when I did my Y, I knew that there would be this negative space here. So I decided to fill it with that. If I were to just have it short right here, then there would be this open space. So when I was practicing it, the reason why I knew that, and maybe I should have just had this next to me, all good. So when I had this, when I was practicing, I was dictating, I noticed this space, so I decided right here, so I decided to fill it like that. So whenever you have a Y, use that to your advantage and have fun. Do you want to actually, let me finish this, so I get sidetracked. So I'm going to do the same thing and curve it like that.
Beautiful.
Okay, so that's one way you can end a Y. You can also just choose to curl it up ever so slightly. So this ended down, this one ends up, or you can do like what I did and I just extended and made the bottom curve a lot more. Or even on that, I could have it end this way instead of this way. So you have a lot of freedom with the Y, and it's one of the letters that I really love. So that, and then if you ever have a T that you cross, you can choose to have a straight T or a curved it, and you can have it curve into that negative space. Ooh, that was pretty cool.
That's a good movement.
Gotta get our dance moves in. Okay. Man, I can't believe I did that. Okay, we're just gonna keep going with it. What I was saying was I have this oval shape now, and I drew it pretty dark so that you can see. If you did that, what you can do is all you need is a super faint line to be able to draw this. And so what I like to do is, well, you can use either part of the eraser, but just lightly erase your line so you just have a really faint line, enough so that you can see it. And that way, when you're going over it, it just won't be as dark. Again, if you want to avoid all of this chaos that I created, do this and use a light box. But we're gonna keep going for it. Okay, so wreath, fun part. To complete this project and to do the last thing, you have options. Do you want to play with, well, because I have a lot of magenta here, I'm just gonna go for it. But I was gonna say, what I did on this one was this entire project, I went through and I did the first, I think I did a combination of the first 2 techniques I showed you, where I had 4 different colors on my well, or I just picked up different colors at either moment, and I went from blue and then ended with more of a magenta type of color. Sometimes I didn't get to magenta and it was just more purple. So this is one technique, and then the same thing when I was doing each letter here. You know what, we're just gonna have fun and go for it. Is, well, the reason why what's going through my head is that this is already loaded with magenta, so I can't really show you this technique. So I'm gonna show you, which is actually a cool thing, I'll show you how you can create this with just if you have a different brush. You will notice that these are 2 different sizes, and it's okay because you can still create a thick line even with this guy. So what's happening is I'm gonna create different amounts of pressure. So if you notice that this is a lot darker and this is a lot lighter, that is why I love watercolors, because you want that variance and to have that different, especially when you're doing the wreath, because you don't want it to be super flat. It'll help to create some movement. Just like when you look at leaves, you never really know exactly, and it's not a flat picture. So we're creating kind of this movement through the different shades of the colors. So when you're doing this, you can either do one color, or if you want to create a blended color, what you can do is, if you start and do that stem like that, I'm gonna pick up some purple and you can blend it in. So half of it looks like that. Maybe I just pick up. So I'm not even going to wash my brush. I'm just gonna keep going. And so it's cool because each time it'll just pick up different shades of all 4 different colors that you have on your palette. So that's one, well, we're going to, well, I'm gonna keep going. What I was gonna say is, in addition to creating this, as you were drawing your wreath, a few things that you can think about is, I tend to like to start at one point and then just go all the way around. If you want, you can also start here and then start here and go up and then go down. So it's up to you how you want your wreath to be formatted. It's just easier for me when I do it just to do it all in once for this type of wreath. When you're doing this though, so what I was saying in the beginning is how you heard me kind of get frustrated that or bummed more that my more was a little bit to the left. It's okay, because what I can do is, as I'm drawing my leaves, I can think about, how can I fill this space with my wreath? So I just have a little bit more, and then on this side, I'm just gonna draw a little bit less leaves, and maybe there's a bigger leaf around here. So you're creating kind of illusion by filling that negative space. So when you're doing these also, I know it can get intimidating because when you see a final project, it's hard to picture how you got there. So what I want you to think about is how can you can even just repeat this one shape that I'm doing over and over again. Maybe mix up the colors that you're using and also mix up the size. So you'll notice I made some really small. This one was really big. And then also I realized is I tend to like to add just little ones like this. So they're not even really leaves. And maybe you do that at the end if you want, just to fill space. But another one that you can do if you want to go and just draw the vine part, and then you're just gonna add teardrop shapes. So you'll know when you need to go and pick up more water, or sorry, more ink, is when it starts to get really light. So let's see. So I'm just connecting the shapes and going around. So I noticed this space right here, so maybe I'm gonna add the little guy like that. So you can see I still got a pretty thick line even with this guy. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this first half in this, and then I'll switch and show you how you can use this brush. The other thing is, there is no rule as far as do they connect, do they not connect? And also if you want to fill in, I'm gonna make this one all similar, but if you wanna experiment on your own, maybe you draw it where it's a more filled in leaf rather than it being open. I'm just gonna leave it open and airy for this one. Also, this motto is perfect for what I'm going through in this project. Less worry. Okay. So I'm just drawing my leaves at different sizes, and you can see all the different colors. Ooh, here's gonna be a bloom. So you'll notice that it just automatically bled into this because it was still wet. I love that. And if you are used to lettering more, this is a very odd movement to just be free and let it go. And I want everyone to embrace this and have fun. So what I'm looking at is every so often, if you want, I tend to rotate my paper like that. But if you want, I would check back in just to look at what you're doing. So then you can see, okay, I noticed, let me fill some more space and add some, add some, do I like that? Color like that, where else? So, whoops, also, I'm not gonna do it. I was gonna say this can be a time if you wanted to do your leaf in green and you wanted to add a green leaf. Again, blue and yellow make green. Okay. Also, if you find that your colors, oh, that's such a pretty color. I'm gonna go a little bit faster. That purple?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. So again, thin on the up, thick on the down. Ooh. Okay. So you'll notice that I'm not actually just getting more water because it's pretty damp already. Okay, so I'm gonna do the second half in this guy. This is just gonna be a hodgepodge of a project. Okay, so this has magenta still on here. There's no water. I'm not gonna add any water right now, unless if you want to create, if you add water to this, it will create a lighter of this color. So, oh, there's a bloom, Keaton. Can you see it?
Awesome.
So yeah, that's what we were talking about, where blooms are sometimes fun when it's not on lettering. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Trying to think if I want to. Keenan, do you think I should do the leaf this way? or keep going?
Opposite direction, you're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the best hodgepodge project, so I would say yes.
Oh man. Okay. So what's going to happen is you can figure out, and maybe you mix it up. So again, you have magenta already in here, and I'm going back to my aquash brush, is pick up the color. So what I was thinking is I don't want to draw such a big leaf that it runs into my Y and kind of overpowers it. So for here, I'm going to draw kind of smaller leaves. And again, you can do little teardrop shapes. So because I still have a lot of purple on here, even though there's magenta filled in here, you can't see. And if you want to, maybe you can squeeze it just to make sure that it's in there. Is ever so slightly, if you're looking at this, it's starting to get back to your color. If you want it to get to the magenta color a little bit faster, go to your practice paper and just draw a little bit. So then you can already tell that's a little bit lighter. Oh yeah. That was really fast, actually. I wasn't expecting to do that. So you can draw these at different shapes. So again, take it one by one. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to fill a little bit of this space here. And I have this negative space right here. So by the time, I think actually this is pretty true to the magenta color already, but I'm going to keep. So if I want to, so you'll notice it went from this gradual, this, I think I picked up purple, the purple that I already had mixed from the blue and the red, or the blue and the magenta. So I started here and it ever so gradually went back to the magenta color. If you want, and you're at the end, because I can't create a new magenta, what you can do, like I was showing, is let's just make a little bit lighter. Oh, that was really light.
Looks good though.
Yeah. So now we're creating, thanks, Keaton, a pink. So remember what I said where once I got to this side, I didn't want to have too big of a wreath or a leaf so that it goes into my M, because I wanted this to be bigger. So I'm going to make sure and be mindful when I'm drawing this to make it a little bit smaller. So what I'm doing is I'm using my guideline as a starting point and just going out from there. I'm not drawing directly on it. So maybe ever so lightly. Wow. That actually looks okay. So do you see the trick of your eye? Can you tell that? How it doesn't feel as off, or just tell me it doesn't.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna stutter a couple more times and then realize what you were asking.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Where the Maury's where you were frustrated that it was off center. Yeah, I couldn't even tell.
Your eye's not as focused on it because I made this leaf so much bigger and these a little bit smaller, so it evens it out. Wow, that actually came together. So when you're done with this, if you have any holes that you want to fill, here's a trick. Add little dots. It makes anything just feel a little bit sweeter, ever so slightly. Or you can add more little ones like that or little ones like that. I actually realized I didn't do very many of those over here. Maybe I'll do one right here. So this is the part where I want you to pause, take a step back, because even when I'm looking at this, that's why you see me stand up or lean back, because I'm so encroached in just tunnel vision on this. So sometimes I have to take a step back to see what I'm working with. So fill the space with just some dots. Okay. Wow, that was a lot. But I am so excited because you all can see, and this is the beauty of lettering, is it's not going to be the same every single time. So when I'm looking at this was the original one that I was going for, and I realized as I made it a lot bigger. So if you're watching and you're just watching the end, it's a little bit different because I made it oval, and I wanted to teach you within this how you can create different ombre techniques. So if you want to create yours and have it look like this, what happened was this was the first technique, and the second technique where I started with one color and dipped in and then picked it up. This is the second ombre technique where I inserted watercolor into the actual part of this brush, and I put it in, took it apart, dipped the tip ever so slightly into blue, so then it started there, and I just kept writing, and gradually it went to my magenta. And I did that same thing with my wreath, but I just picked up color every so often. So you'll notice I went from blue, and then I picked it up again here. So there are so many ways you can do this. I'm really excited. This was the first project for the summer box that we're learning all about lettering with a real brush. We're going to be going through a couple different mediums. So this one was just with watercolor. If you are new to us, welcome. And we would love for you to join our Facebook group. So it's Let's Make Art Lettering. And we have a Facebook group where every Thursday I'm in there and answering more specific questions. So if you need more a little bit one-on-one, I know this is just me talking to you here, but if you want a little bit more one-on-one, I will be able to help you and show you different things. Also in our group, share what you make. This whole thing, as you see, there's so many different ways to do this. I want to see how you make your own. Maybe you do love more, something less, add less to the bottom. And this can be a great reminder that you hang on your home. I'm really, really excited to be here with you guys, and I hope you have fun with this project. Bye, everyone.